So riding in Great Britain, our latest census said we have around 1 million horses in the UK. We're looking at England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. 3.5 million riders in the UK, 6% of our population, down as riding a couple of times a year. So in the UK, the way that we run our federation, we have the British Equestrian Federation, and that is split into a number of member bodies. So the member bodies we have look after one specific discipline. So we have our Olympic member bodies, British Dressage, Show Jumping and Eventing. And then we have our amateur governing bodies, which cover riding clubs and pony clubs. And the British Horse Society is the biggest of those amateur governing bodies and is actually the governing body for riding clubs. So I'll just explain a little bit about the structure. Anybody in the UK can buy and own a horse, and as we've heard from other countries here, no licence or registration is required. We have affiliated competitions, and for those you do need to be a member of that governing body. So if you want to ride for affiliated dressage, you need to be a member with British Dressage, and so on. Our unaffiliated competitions, we don't need to be a member or have a licence to compete. And in the UK, we do have a huge unaffiliated market. I think the gentleman that's been asking the questions about people competing who aren't members, in the UK, that's very much something that we do encourage. We work with all the other disciplines in the UK, and we look at it more as like an industry. So we try to increase participation across the industry. So we very much feel that although a member might not want to affiliate with dressage or show jumping or riding clubs, if they try us and want to go somewhere else, we're always very keen to push that path as long as they stay within the equestrian industry. So the governing bodies in Great Britain there, just some statistics. The British Horse Society has 85,000 members, and of that we have another 33,000 who belong to British riding clubs, and that sits within the society. British Eventing, we're looking at 12,000 members, and the Pony Club, which is sort of the equivalent to British riding clubs, but very much for the juniors, sitting at 30,000. So when we look at the British Horse Society, we have a number of departments, and the British Horse Society is a charity, and it does charitable works and raises funds to do those. So some of the departments are charity departments that use the money to do good works, and other departments are fundraising departments that help to facilitate all of that work. So we have a welfare department, a safety, bridleways, those are all doing charitable acts. And then things like the bookshop, we have exams and training, riding schools and livery yards, and British riding clubs. And those are the departments that generate income for the charity to be able to do its good works. So if we look at British riding clubs as a department, we have 33,000 members, and we split our organisation into clubs and centres. So that gives us a total of 500 riding clubs affiliated to us as we stand here today. The way we organise our structure, we split the whole of the country into 23 areas or regions. So you have your clubs and centres at the bottom, and they're grouped into an area. Each area is run by a committee, and the committee nominates a representative which sits on our national committee. It is our national committee that then liaises with the riding club's office, of which I am a member of staff, and obviously work for the BHS. So that's how our structure works within the governing body. The role of riding clubs for us, that is our strap line. So ride together, train together, compete together, and have fun together. And the roles really in the UK are probably a little more grassroots, a little bit more at the lower levels compared to perhaps some of the other countries that we've heard from already. So we provide support and encouragement to our amateur riders, and that does go across all of the levels, the lower levels predominantly. We help riders to develop skills and enjoy riding, to encourage people to get back in the saddle. So again, the UK as an industry is very keen on participation and driving the figures of getting people back in the saddle. We offer a range of events, training and qualifications, and then we give members the chance to ride, compete and train at national competitions, training at home and socials as well. I've got a few slides now just to show you the difference between clubs and centres and how that works in the UK, because they are very different structures. So with a club, it's for a rider that owns their own horse, whereas a centre is riders on a riding school horse. A club has no fixed location, so it's just a group of people. They can choose to call the club what they like, and they can meet and move around the country, around their area as they want to do so. But a centre is based at a location, so it's at a venue with facilities. A rider would join the club directly, and the rider still joins the centre directly. So that's the member and the actual organisation is separate to joining us at head office. So the club pays a fee to the BHS to be affiliated to us, but a centre does not. So there is no charge for a centre to join our scheme. The club then pays a fee per member to the BHS as well, and the member of a centre pays straight to us. So, bearing that in mind, it's the club that sets the fee to join, but with a centre, we set the fee. So as the governing body, we say what that fee will be. A club has to have a committee, a constitution, a bank account, and all of those things, whereas a centre doesn't need to have a committee. A club is a not-for-profit organisation, and that is very strict. Whereas a centre is usually run alongside a business. So it's another thing that a centre, that a riding school, that a venue would offer. Club officials get insurance through affiliating to us, similar as we've heard earlier, but no insurance is for centre officials, and that's reflected in the no fee. Members of a club get insurance when they're competing at riding club activities, but again, there's no insurance for a centre member, so they have to have their own insurance. Both clubs and centres are individual organisations, so they're autonomous in their running, and we only have so much governance over them. So members can enter all club events, as can centre members. And they can enter qualifiers and indeed championships. The only difference would be that a centre member would have to have their own insurance, and they'd be on a hired horse rather than a club member on their own horse. Clubs are eligible for funding and grants, and we have quite a good structure in the UK with lots of different funding available for clubs, but that's not usually applicable to centres because they're running more as a business. So clubs and centres can choose the members they accept. So the contract is between the member and the venue or the club, and it's not to do with us at the BHS. The financing of riding clubs. So each individual club pays around €200 a year to affiliate to the BHS, and that predominantly covers their organiser insurance. So for that fee, we insure all of the organisers and all of the volunteers that are helping at an unlimited number of events that they choose to run throughout the year. And that's a yearly fee. They also pay us €16 per member, which covers the member's insurance and all the other membership benefits. So your magazine, membership card, and we have some discounts and things. So there's quite a lot of money that comes from the clubs to us as the governing body. Clubs decide what fee they charge their members. Now this does vary hugely from sort of €20 to €200 a year. It depends what activities the club offers and what facilities they have. So if a club has a venue with jumps and a school and facilities, they might have a higher membership fee so that those members can use those facilities, whereas other clubs that don't have any base will often just charge a bare minimum for the running of the club. Members then pay their entry fees to clubs for any training or shows or events. And we also allow non-members or unaffiliated riders to join in with those training shows and events. So that is usually done by all of our clubs because it's extra income. What we find is when clubs run qualifier events for our championships, there's not enough people who want to qualify for the national championships to make it a viable event. So the way our clubs get around it is by having open sections, so they'll fill the rest of the day with non-members who just have to make sure that they have insurance. Grants and funding, as we've said, available from various sources for our clubs. Centres are a little bit different. They don't pay anything to us. but the member pays us the same €16 straight to the BHS. Members pay the centre every time they go to ride, so they're hiring the horse, so it's very much a business transaction, and they will also pay for riding lessons. So if they're going to go out and compete at a show, they'll be hiring the horse for the day, as well as going usually on a weekly or fortnightly basis for lessons. The way that we work as a governing body financially, we have our club fees from clubs, and we have our membership per head fees from clubs. We have the membership fees from centres, and we have a couple of entry fees that come into us as a governing body. So we have our qualifier entry fees. So when someone wants to enter a qualifier, they pay to enter the actual event, whoever is organising it, and that's at whatever fee the organisers want to charge. But they pay a fee to us to say that they are trying to qualify. And it's those pre-qualifier entry fees that make the financing of our championships possible. So the entry fees then that we get in for our championships is a very small amount of money. So if we were relying on that alone, then our big championship events wouldn't be viable. So we use the pre-entry fees to sort of make the qualifiers a viable thing. We also have grants and funding. In the UK, we're very lucky in that there's a variety of grants available to us. We don't get anything from government, so all the income that we source as a governing body, we do ourselves. So sponsorship grants and things like that. Clubs are autonomous, so they're very individual in their organisation. They're run independently. We have specific criteria to allow them to affiliate to us. So they have to have a certain amount of members, they have to have a bank account and a constitution. But what else they do really, we don't have any governance over. They do have to be a not-for-profit organisation, so any money that they do accrue has to be put back in to the members, so to training and subsidising grants. Clubs don't carry the charity status of the BHS, so whereas we as a governing body are a registered charity, a club affiliating to us doesn't inherit that right, but they can apply to be a charity themselves. Again, riding centres are autonomous, run independently and have specific criteria to join up to us. Currently, they have to be a BHS approved centre. So another department in the BHS approves riding schools, training venues, competition venues. And to be a riding club centre, you have to be approved by the BHS. So we've done our checks and we're happy with the way that they're running. Centres are very usually businesses and again don't carry that charity status. Riding clubs and their members, the relationship between them, members are paying to join their club. They can be a member of more than one club. We don't have a limit on that. But they can only compete and represent one club at national competitions in a year. So they can be often a member of one or more clubs, go and use training facilities and other events put on by other clubs, but they have to choose each year one club that they're going to represent at our national level. Members must abide by the rules and can be disciplined by the club or by us as a governing body. So depending on what the situation was, it would either be a club matter or it would be escalated to us as a governing body. And clubs currently go from grassroots right down at your very beginners, right up to a 2-star team. So we have an international 2-star team that go and compete internationally. So that's the range that we're catering for. And I should just add, we don't have a minimum age level either for our riding club members, so we leave that very much up to the clubs to decide. Riding centres and the members are usually paying customers. They go regularly and they're paying that fee to the centre. All the activities are done on riding school horses, and horses have to be hired if they're going to go out and about to competitions. Some centres will allow that, but some centres won't. So it is more of a business arrangement if it's a centre. So the competitions that we have, the official competitions that we organise as the governing body, we have 6 national championships every year, covering dressage, show jumping. We still do long format eventing with roads and tracks and steeplechase. I think we're one of the few to still do that. We have dressage to music, Our quadrille, which is teams of 4 doing dressage in costume to music. Combined training, which is a show jumping and dressage discipline. Cross country, and we do teams of 6 and teams of 4 dressage. So those are our official disciplines. Clubs will do other disciplines at club level, le trek, horse agility, things like that, and that is fine under our insurance, but those are the only ones that we have championships for. So areas run the qualifiers, and every area runs one qualifier for each championship, and it's the BHS, the governing body, that actually runs the championships. Those are just some pictures of our quadrille, which is quite a sight when they're all dressed up and going around to music. I think that's one of our unique things in the UK. So quickly talking about involvement with other disciplines, as I've said, we do grassroots right up to international. We have our European CIC 2-star team. Our quadrille final that we just saw there is at the Olympia Horse Show, which is a very big horse show in London each year. We have some other competitions that are put on by some of the big international horse trials and other shows. So when we can't put on certain things like an eventer challenge where they do show jumping and straight out onto a cross-country course, we don't have a national championship for that, but Blenheim Horse Trials, which is an international horse trials, put on a class for our members. So we work very closely with a lot of other disciplines and other shows to give our members benefits that we don't currently organise as the governing body from head office. Other organisations that we liaise with: local government, UK Lottery Funding and Sport England. They're very active in the UK and very supportive, and it's all about participation and numbers. And we're very lucky because, as I said at the beginning, riding clubs is considered to be quite low level and the grassroots, and that's really where the Lottery and Sport England want to push their funding. So we're always very fortunate. They come to us first, and they're very easy with their money, shall we say. Breed societies as well. We do liaise with the retraining of racehorses and the FEI Clean Sport. In the UK, we do have regular drug testing at lots of different discipline events. But I'm quite proud to say that riding clubs is one of the disciplines that will test routinely at every championship and at qualifiers. So we have trained stewards. We have obviously veterinary surgeons in attendance, and we are very good at complying with the FEI Clean Sport programme. So other disciplines in the UK will only spot check or check if there's a problem. But even though we're grassroots, we're very good at educating our riders right down at that level to bring them then up through the ranks and be aware of things like the anti-doping code, etc. Training that riding clubs do, very much organised by the clubs and centres, a little bit by us as a governing body. We have a riding and horse welfare system which feeds into the BHS exam system. So all of your BHS stage exams, which are quite famous as being a very stable equine qualification, if you start off doing some riding club assessments, you can then jump in halfway up the BHS stage, which is a really good way of getting people into our qualification system. We also have our own list of trained judges and assessors, and we also have a couple of our own disciplines, which we call riding test and style jumping, and those are very specific to riding clubs. And we work closely with the BEF and FEI, as I've said, to increase participation. Other things that riding clubs cover that are kind of important for what we do: we have over 160 regular volunteers at championships, and obviously thousands down at area level. We have 100 official stewards, and they're trained by us, and they go out and they are the official at every qualifier. So that's the person that's looking out for all the welfare things that we spoke about earlier. That's our official on the ground at those competitions. We have a volunteers club, which is quite an inclusive club and really looks after our volunteers. We have a reward system, we have training, so we're really good at keeping our volunteers motivated and also upskilled. We produce our own magazine 4 times a year with club news, features and competitions. So again, we're very good at creating the club ethos. So it's about having that community around riding clubs. We do annual roadshows and area visits, so we go and visit every single area every year to talk to our members and to get feedback. And we have done this for 2 years now and found it invaluable in actually going out as the governing body and meeting your members face to face. I can't speak highly enough of the feedback we've had back, and we've been able to do rule changes and introduce new competitions as a direct result of hearing what our members want. And of course that then is going to lead to greater participation, hopefully. The third-party liability insurance we offer, I've spoken about. So members have insurance when there are any riding club activity, be it an event where they're jumping or a social evening or a quiz. So anything that's organised under our umbrella, they're covered while they're there. And our clubs are covered for all of the organisers and all of the volunteers that are helping at any event. We're quite good as well with our health and safety. We have we kind of the lead body on hat and body protector guidance. We do a lot of work with our officials about risk assessments, cross-country course safety, and also accident reporting. So that's a flip side. We're great at gathering statistics for accidents and things, and that feeds then into the BHS safety department. One thing I'm going to add, which Ben reminded me of earlier, was just to talk about vaccinations and passports. In the UK, riding clubs are often mocked for being the strictest on their vaccination rules. So at every riding club event, when a horse arrives, it is taken with its passport to be checked over, and its vaccinations are looked at. If those all don't tally, or if a vaccination is out even by a day, we do send that horse home. We have isolation facilities, and that's standard. The other disciplines do have the same rules, but will only spot check, generally speaking, and often chastise us, really, for saying that we're so strict. But because we're part of the British Horse Society, which is the nation's largest equine welfare charity, we feel it's really important, as Ben was saying earlier, to really instill in our members at that grassroots level the importance of things like the vaccination programme. So I'm proud to say that I can hand on heart say that every horse that comes to a British Riding Club event is checked with its passport for general health and also for its vaccinations. So that's me. If anybody has any questions, I would welcome them.